Last night, Pyotr Kochetkov set a franchise record for saves by a rookie goaltender in a shutout with 44 saves against the Florida Panthers. Find out just what this game was like in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Friday afternoon. And last night was a fun one, folks. The Hurricanes beat the Florida Panthers 1-0, and this is one of the most entertaining 1-0 games I have ever watched. This was a fun one, folks, for sure. It had a real playoff vibe to it. This is definitely going to be a rivalry brewing for going forward. These teams clearly do not like each other. Obviously, this was a rematch of the Eastern Conference Final from last season, where the Hurricanes on paper got swept. But if you watch that series, you know it was a lot closer than just a sweep. But yeah, this was a crazy game. It's definitely a goaltender's duel. Obviously, in a 1-0 game, it's likely going to be. But Pyotr Kochetkov again set a franchise record with 44 saves for a rookie goaltender shutout, and that's Hurricanes Whalers history. This is also a career high for him, and he was absolutely stellar in this game. I was a bit worried about him going into this game. Just he hadn't played in nearly a week. He had been sick, and again, just me speculating, whether or not it was whatever bugs being going around Raleigh that I had, that Brett Pesci had, and a lot of my coworkers have had. So wondering if it was that same thing, because that one, it really knocks you on your butt. And so I was a bit nervous going into this because Florida is a very good team. One of the top teams in the East. Heck, this could potentially be a preview for a repeat conference final. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. But Pyotr Kochetkov, he really saved the Hurricanes in this game. The Panthers again are a very dangerous team, especially you look at the back half of the first period and that push that they were making. And the Pyotr Kochetkov really came up big for them. The Hurricanes didn't have a shot for almost the final 9 minutes of the first period. So he really went out there and played his butt off. And definitely really looking forward to seeing this tandem of Kochetkov and Martin, because we've seen from Spencer Martin that, okay, he can play. Obviously, it's been a very small sample size for him, but he has played really well in all of them. Kochetkov, coming back, not missing a beat, having been out for nearly a week, being sick. I'm really looking forward to this, and I think that with Spencer Martin playing the way he has played recently, I think that we could potentially, even though Kochetkov coming back in playing as good as he had, I think we may see, Martin a little bit more and give Kochetkov a little bit of some. I was about to say breathing room, but lighten his load a little bit. Because man, you got two goalies right now that are playing really well for you. And we'll talk about it more over the weekend of what exactly they're going to do now in the goalie situation. We've talked about it a few times already, but man, Kochetkov coming back playing the way he played, last night. Spencer Martin having played the way he's played. Man, the Hurricanes, they got something going there, and it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. Sebastian Aho, he ended up being the hero for this game, and ended up scoring with just under 19 seconds left in the game. I think it was like 18.8, 18.9 seconds left. And it really felt like this game was going to go to overtime. Um, we thought, it felt really deflating there in like the last 3.5 minutes when Florida scored. It was former Hurricane, coincidentally enough, Eetu Luostarinen, who ended up scoring the goal for the Panthers. But a very good challenge by Rod Brind'amour and his staff. Got challenged for offsides. It's called back. We're like, okay, any sort of momentum that you know the Panthers may have been getting, it felt like, oh man, that really, it felt like it gave the Hurricanes something. Um, and again, felt like it was really going to go into overtime there. And I said before, when we were previewing the game, that with a game like this, I would be fine with it going to overtime and just coming away with a point. Because again, I was kind of worried about Kochetkov not being 100%. One thing he didn't even mention was Jalen Chatfield having missed the previous game against Chicago. And then he also missed this one against the Panthers due to an upper body injury. So that meant Tony DeAngelo is slotting back in the lineup. And we all know how, he can be defensively. And this wasn't Chicago they were going against. This was the Panthers, who were a much better team than Chicago. So I was a little worried. But man, the Hurricanes, they went out there, took care of business. And I'm really, really happy with it. Yeah, and it one thing that I really, really loved was the penalty killing. Special teams really stepped up to the plate in this game. I said that their penalty killing was really going to have to bounce back from that game against Chicago, where they had a rare off night where they allowed 2 power play goals. It doesn't happen very often. And then with Florida having a top 10 power play in the league, they're really going to have to be on it. And the Hurricanes were. They went 3 for 3 on the kill. And obviously the one that people are going to be talking about the most is, of course, that Jordan Stahl double minor for high sticking against Nick Cousins. And man, I was so hyped when they killed that off too. It was really fun. And like I said, this game had a playoff type vibe. And in mid-February, we're having a game with playoff type vibes. And I'm really, really excited to see this next game between these two teams. Obviously, the season series is tied now. Florida having taken the first one back in November. And they play again on March 14th. So just a couple weeks away. And that is going to be, again, back in Raleigh. So much like that game against the Stars the other week, saying like, oh, it's going to be interesting to see, just how that ends up playing out, having played each other so close together. This is going to be a really fun one to watch here in a couple weeks. I'm really looking forward to it because, again, you see that after the whistle types, or after the game type stuff, after the final horn blew, there was some festivities that Pyotr Kochetkov himself even got involved in. To see how that goes. Andrei Svechnikov knocked out Matthew Tkachuk late in the first period with a really, really big hit. So just seeing it, and he also didn't come back into the game. So really will be interesting to see how things go in the next one. We've seen in the past, not only with the Hurricanes, but with other NHL teams, other sports teams in general, when you have, some stuff like this game here, and you play each other pretty close together, you're gonna have some spillover into that next game. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Hurricanes respond to that. I think, definitely having that home ice will uh help them out in that. But going back to that Sebastian Aho game-winning goal, that one was really, really fun, to see. He obviously had just hit the 20 goal mark, in that game prior against Chicago. Um, so for him to go out there and play here, that was great, and we'll continue to talk about that and more right after this quick break, folks. Now now, folks, we are driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your fast and matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast, folks. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, streaming, and messaging so you can connect with the ideal candidate faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster, 93% of employers agree. Indeed delivers on the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So, folks, join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at indeed.com/locked on. Just go to indeed.com/locked on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/locked on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Now, that Sebastian Aho game-winning goal, definitely, was big for him, to go down there, be the hero for the Canes, especially, when it felt like they had that goal against, or that goal that Florida scored but got called back was definitely just a nightmare scenario for them, and for Sebastian Aho, but ended up getting called back again. Aho goes down there, scores it. But one thing with that goal is it came off of a blocked Andrei Svechnikov shot. So to have, your two franchise guys going down there and being a part of, that game winning goal is great. And then, of course, Jesper Foss being involved in it as well. He's been playing really well on that top line with those two guys. So yeah, I really did enjoy, it's just one of those things. You obviously love a game-winning goal, but man, when you got your two franchise guys involved in it, yeah, that is just fantastic stuff there. And I did want to dive into, what, of course, Sebastian Aho um had to say about, the game and his goal. He was asked for his emotions after scoring the fifth latest go-ahead goal in franchise history. He said, quote, you just gotta love playing these games. Two very good teams. The crowd is on their feet. That's the good stuff. You just want to come out on the winning side of these games. It feels good. I'm not gonna lie. End quote. Yeah, I mean, he's saying what we're all thinking, it just it is a playoff type game, and, probably a preview of what we're gonna see in the playoffs, depending on where these teams fall, whether it be, whatever round it may be. Again, I said it could be another conference final round, which it very well may end up being with the level these teams are playing at. And yeah, again, Sebastian Aho bringing up the crowd. Man, the crowd was nuts in this game. Playoff type crowd too. We talk about the game, but the crowd had a playoff type energy to them as well. Pyotr Kochetkov again. Yeah, he was absolutely stellar. Yeah, one thing, I loved, on the broadcast, you can pick up of, the crowd, chanting for him, uh, whenever he came out for the first star. Absolutely love that stuff. Brind'amour was asked about him. He said, quote, "He's been solid again." He was the difference. He made many, many saves. The one goal was all we got, so we needed him to be perfect, and he was. Main quote. And yeah, go check out. I said before at the beginning of the episode, he did everything the Hurricanes needed him to do. He bailed them out, and especially there in that first period again with that push the Panthers were making there, and then all game long as well. And for him to have come up, as good as he did, fantastic, love it. And yeah, he was also Kochetkov was also, uh, talked to. Um, After what again was a career night for him, saying quote, "Very fun, great game, great win, team win. I just tried to focus on the puck. The boys had a lot of good block shots. I saw a couple of good shots, good penalty kill, great job on the PK at the end of the game." And yeah, again, penalty killing was fantastic in this game. And obviously Kochetkov, yeah, being, Kochetkov with that answer, it's a very, just saying very fun. It's just so him. Um, but again, 44 saves. There's a career high for him, franchise record for a rookie goalie. And I do want to get into the stars of the game. Mine are honestly the same ones as the official stars of the game. Third star being Andrei Svechnikov, had an assist. And of course, was played a very physical game as well. Sebastian Aho, game-winning goal, and then of course Pyotr Kochetkov having the first star with 44 saves and a shutout. Um, yeah, it's fantastic stuff. Again, this is just regular season. So obviously, you get to the playoffs, you're playing the Panthers again. It's going to be even tougher, especially if it ends up being in the conference final again. Um, so I'm really, really, really enjoyed this game. Really looking forward to seeing how the Hurricanes can continue their momentum. Also, this snapped the Panthers' 6-game winning streak. The Hurricanes have also now won 5 straight. They're going to be looking to make that 6 in a row over the weekend against Dallas yet again. So it's going to be some fun stuff this weekend, folks. Let's continue to enjoy, the ride from this game because, man, it was a fun one. Let's look forward to Dallas. But we do have the playoffs right around the corner. They're going to be here before we know it, folks. We talked a lot about playoff vibe with this game. And I would do want to start to look at the playoff standings because, again, they're going to be here before we know it. And we will dive into those right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, grocery bills are so expensive these days, but now they don't have to be. Start getting cash back on your grocery shopping with the free Ibotta app and get cash back every time you shop. Do you love making money, but you also love spending money? Don't we all? Now, again, you can make money while you spend it when you shop with Ibotta. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop with hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies to toys and everything in between. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 a year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. So you can buy that flight you've been eyeing, that game you've been dying to go to, or the fancy dinner that you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't really amount to much. With Ibotta, you just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and you get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join over 50 million users and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands, including retailers from Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code Locked On NHL when you register. just go to the App Store or Google Play Store to download the free Ibotta app and start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONNHL. Now, folks, diving into the playoff standings. This is going to be fun stuff now that we're looking at it. Um, Obviously, we're looking at the stuff on the NHL website. We're going to start with the Metro, obviously. The Carolina Hurricanes are still sitting in second place in the Metro. First, again, is still the New York Rangers. They are sitting at first, 57 games played with a 36-16-3 record and 79 points. Hurricanes at 56 games played at 34-17-5 and 73 points. Flyers 57 played, 30, 20, and 7 and 67 points. It's really going to be interesting to see how the Hurricanes can close this gap with the Rangers. Obviously, there's still a lot of hockey left to be played, and so this can totally happen. It's not like it's out of reach by any stretch, but you look at that, it's going to be that's going to be an interesting race to watch. Obviously, going in the season, we, thought it may be like the Rangers, the Hurricanes, and the Devils. It's just the Rangers and the Hurricanes this year. Flyers are there as well. Over in the Atlantic, first place there, 58 played. Boston Bruins, of course, 34, 12, and 12 and 80 points. Panthers at 37, 16 and 4 and 78 points. And then the Leafs in third at 56 played at a 32, 16 and 8 record with 72 points. The two East teams in the wild card right now. The first wild card would be the Detroit Red Wings at a 30, 20 and 6 record, 66 points. And second wild card, folks, is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Didn't think we'd be saying that a couple years ago. They're there at a 30, 23 and 5 record is 65 points. All three, Capitals, Devils, and Islanders, all there at 3, 4, and 5 with 60 points. Washington being, the number 3, then the Devils and the Islanders. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting playoffs. Yeah, obviously, again, still a lot of hockey left to be played. This stuff is definitely going to change. You look at your races for first place in the East. Panthers are right behind the Bruins. Yeah, 2 points. They've been neck and neck. That was something we mentioned yesterday. And then, of course, the Hurricanes being pretty close behind the Rangers as well. And then you look at your wild card teams, especially, the Red Wings. Yes. Yeah, especially the Red Wings, excuse me. They're at 66 points. Your Leafs are at 72. So they could close that gap. And then you look at the Capitals being 7 points behind the Flyers. Still a lot of hockey left to be played. These gaps can close. These teams can flip flop. It could totally stay the same there in the East. We just don't know. But it's going to be an interesting watch for sure. It really is where just trying to think of like ideal matchups for the Hurricanes. That's gonna be a fun one. And again, I would love to see a rematch in the conference final. You kind of figure, another Rangers Hurricanes playoff series that would be fun, especially obviously, in Raleigh, with a lot of New York transplants and just New England transplants in general. Tends to be decent turnout for Rangers fans at games, so that makes a very fun environment, for both fan bases. Obviously, the city of Cary, kind of empty on those nights, but it is what it is, folks. Um, but yeah, look, and then of course, obviously, you look at the playoff history with the Bruins, should that matchup come about, obviously, that would be a conference final matchup, barring, just complete collapse by one of them. But out west, that's going to be an interesting one there. In the Central, the Stars, who again we will be seeing again this weekend. They're in first at 34, 16, and 8, 76 points. Avs right behind them at 35, 18, and 5, and 75 points. Jets a little bit farther back. Actually, they're a little bit farther back of the Stars, but not at all of the Avalanche. I just don't know how to do math. Sitting at 34, 15, and 5, and 73 points. So all they're pretty tight in the Central Division. That'll be an interesting race to watch play out. In the Pacific, that's where the gap is. Vancouver Canucks in first place in the Pacific. I believe they're still first place in the league as well. 37, 16, and 6, and 80 points. Vegas, they're in second at 32, 19, and 6, and 70 points. Oilers in third at 33, 18, and 2, and 68 points. Canucks, obviously a very dangerous team right now. They've been, just extending that gap between them and Vegas this year. So that's going to be a fun one. Then the first two wild cards are the Kings and the Blues as of recording. Kings in first at 28, 17, and 10, and 66 points. Blues there in the second wild card at 30, 24, and 2, and 62 points. Predators are also at 62 points. Kraken there at 59, Calgary at 59. Obviously, we talked a little bit earlier, a few weeks ago about Arizona, how they had been, doing really well, but they kind of faltered. They're in seventh in the wild card race. They're pretty much out of it at this point. It sucks, man. I'd love to see a playoff series there on Mullet. But you look over. We tend to do this of looking over at the league standings. Actually, as of right now, the Bruins are the number one team in the league. They have overtaken the Canucks. That's a fun new development. But they have the one game less played. There we are. Then the Rangers are there in third, the Panthers in fourth, Stars in fifth, Avs in sixth, Jets in seventh, Canes in eighth, Leafs in ninth, and Vegas in 10th. Those are your top 10 teams in the league right now in terms of points. It's going to, again, this is totally going to change. And I think that, we're definitely going to see a team like St. Louis. They're in it right now. Whether or not they make it, I don't know. But we're obviously going to continue to look at these every Friday. And leading up into the playoffs, it's going to be really fun to see how things change and evolve as the season progresses on, as the trade deadline hits. It's going to be really, really fun. And then of course, you'll have random things pop up like, oh, this guy comes out of nowhere. Oh, Spencer Martin, hey, how are you? You're playing really good hockey. Just to see how things develop over these next couple months. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it, folks. Make sure you're following along on the socials at LO_Hurricanes, myself at Jared Ellis _96. Subscribe on YouTube. And as always, folks, let's go Canes.